play, handling the ball as if it's sacred, right? Not giving it up unnecessarily.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. As we kind of look forward, reports came out, albeit the Mirror, that we may be in for Vardy in the winter window, and we're not going to really get too much into talking transfer talk as far as what's going to happen this winter. We're nowhere near that yet. The names will change 100 times, and Sam will be rumored as a striker, as long with
I'm quite good,
everybody else on the planet is. So yeah,
I'm worth at least a few million, I think.
Right. But I wanted to ask Vass, when you think about these transfer windows, is there one particular window to you? Was it the Argentines coming in? Was it losing Bale? The one or maybe the one or two that have, in your opinion, the biggest impact on the team, and personally for you, a favorite player maybe that finally had to step away from the club?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Ken. I mean, clearly going back to the Argentinians coming, that was at a time when news didn't travel as fast as it does today. So you didn't find out about it until it was published in the morning papers that something had happened, and we, as the headline said at the time, we'd scooped the world, and we managed to get these guys in. But Spurs have always been at the forefront of some massive transfers, whether it was the Argentinians back then, whether it was getting Gascoigne when we got him, scooping Chris Waddle, bringing Gary Lineker back from Barcelona, Jurgen Klinsmann in '94. We've had some pretty significant signings. The disappointment is sometimes when transfer windows get away from you. For example, everybody cites the 2010 window when we only brought in Saha and Nelson when we could have pushed on. So, yeah, perhaps that was an opportunity missed. Losing Bale was a kick in the teeth, but look, we've lost some players lately, and people have said that we've become a selling club, but we've got to be realistic about things. When you consider that the clubs coming in for our players are the biggest clubs in the world, i.e. Real Madrid and Manchester United, for example, there's not many teams that are able to hold on to their players when these teams come calling. I mean, Manchester United couldn't hold on to Ronaldo. Barcelona couldn't hold on to Figo when Real Madrid came knocking. So
right. It's
testament to the power and the pull of these clubs. So whilst losing Bale and Modric, who was a superb player, to Real Madrid, actually kind of hurts, there has to be an element of realism about it and say, well, look, would we have been able to keep those guys? I doubt that very much, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, Vass, that kind of, what you just talked about is one of the things that really sort of has drawn us to you and sort of allowed us to develop a friendship with you, because you wrote an article for the Fighting Cock, and it's on your blog. It was just a very sort of pragmatic view. I think it was talking about a Twitter back and forth that you had with somebody and how irrational they were. And you're very pragmatic in your view, and you've been a long-time supporter. You've seen the ups and downs, and you look at it within perspective, where I think many of us, and I'm just as guilty as most, doing this kind of getting myopic and only focused on the situation. And you tend to look at things with a sense of patience. The problem today, right, is that people look at that and say, oh, you're happy clapping. And it's not. You're proper football man, and your wide variety of articles speaks to that. So,
I'd like to think so, Sam. I think we have to remain somewhat objective. People can or have accused me of being overly optimistic. Even one of my sons has written me about that as well. But I've
is that Andy?
No, it's my other son, Kiri. Yeah, he. I've lived through some moments where I've seen the team get relegated. I've seen us almost go extinct in 91 or thereabouts, whenever it was, before we won the FA Cup back then. There very nearly wasn't a Tottenham Hotspur for us to support. I know it's something that doesn't bear thinking about, and possibly it wouldn't have got to that stage. But we have to remain somewhat realistic about where we are, what our aspirations are, and of course I want to see Tottenham Hotspur win the Premiership title before I kick the bucket. But I'm not going to, what's the word?
Kill yourself prematurely.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Kick the bucket too soon. Just because of it.
Out of stress, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and it's kind of ironic because when we were growing up watching the game, the catalyst for your season was the FA Cup. That was what you strove for every season to win. And you'll hear Blanchflower and Greaves and all the lads would have said that in the 60s. But at some point, that all, and to your point earlier, Vass, the money in the business of football has turned it into the higher up the league, and preferably you want to win it because that gets you into the Champions League. And I think that's a safe assumption to say, and that's why we crave that. And at the same time, we want to be back winning the FA Cup like we used to, because it seemed to be that we did it for fun for a while there, and And now, it just seems to be the occasional Carling Cup final, which we can't win that. So I get your point there, Vass. So great way to sum that up. Let's talk predictions for the Timmy-less Villa, which is for us Monday Night Football.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even realize that.
Well, it's not awesome because we don't get to go down the pub. Well, you can, but you've got to skive off work.
And we don't. And the Sherwood narrative has been robbed from us in typical Spurs manner. God, we would have had so much fun with that.
Well, because he was not going to strike lightning twice, was he?
No.
Just one more
couldn't
week.
Happen.
God, he couldn't last another freaking
They
week.
didn't want him to get thrashed 6-0 at White Hart Lane on his second return. So.
Yeah.
Can we still beat them 6-0?
The irony was last season, guys, if we'd have just beat them on that day when they got a 1-0 victory against us, when we were blooming awful, they'd have been relegated then, because take 3 points off of Villa's total for last season, they would have gone down.
Oh, is that right?
So we could have sent Timmy down into the Championship with Villa, and me living in Villa country, it sort of... it would have meant something as well, but yes, quite ironic really, but there you go.
Well, they're dead last in the league now.
Yeah,
they are.
I know that Spurs are one of only a handful, 5 or 6 teams that have not been relegated since the Premier League era. Has Villa ever been relegated in that time?
No.
So that would be a major casualty then. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Before we go on to predictions, I don't think people know that you live in the Birmingham area. If somebody put a gun to your head and said you had to support either City or Villa, which one would it be?
It'd probably be Birmingham, I guess. Birmingham City, the Blues.
All right, fair enough.
I couldn't bring myself to support Villa, Sam. No chance. They've given me too much stick, particularly when I was living up here during the Jerry Francis years at White Hart Lane and things like that. It was a tough time.
You only give him those 2 choices. Maybe he wanted to be a Wolverhampton supporter.
Yeah, no, that's a bit of a reach.
That's a bit of a reach. All right, predictions. Simon, who do you want to start this?
I think we'll beat them 3-0.
3-0, clean sheet.
Yeah.
Oh man. Somehow, even like today, we always tend to give a freaking goal away, but I think that they are going to be woeful, and we're kind of on a roll. I'm going to say 4-0. Back-to-back Harry Kane hat tricks. How about that?
Ooh. All right.
Way to go, Sam. Keep him in your fantasy lineup.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, he'd been. There was no way I was going to take him out. Now, I kept him in the whole season long. There's no way I'm taking him out for Bournemouth. And I thought, the hell with it. I'll do the triple captain thing, and it worked out.
You can buy me a beer at some point. I sent him a motivational tweet this morning just to get him fired up. So
there you go.
All right.
You can thank me for today's performance, guys.
I'll see you in the new year. Consider that. I'm going to take my predictions a little bit more seriously than what I have. I'm terrible at them. So I've been kind of than tongue-in-cheek, doing NFL scores. I think
358 nothing.
I'm going to go ahead and say 5-1 again. But this time around, goals won't be gifted. This will be a very spirited home performance, the one that we've really been waiting. Like this sets up well for a narrative where we really, wipe the floor with the team, and they're in terrible shape. I think of like how Newcastle was in their sort of caretaker manager performances most of last year, just dreadful. So, maybe this will be a big result. But it's also worth talking about this. We're beginning a torrid run of fixtures. Villa, then Anderlecht, and then Arsenal, then West Ham, Qarabag, then Chelsea.
Be nice to get one or
stretch.
Be nice to get one or two players back too, namely Son. I'd like to see him get back to match fitness, maybe by the North London derby. That would be kind of nice.
We had Mason back today.
Yes, definitely.
Mason had a run out. That's good.
Yeah. Look good. Think about real quick. Think about it this way: we have two good performances, and we have to play well now against Anderlecht at home. So win against Villa, good performance against Anderlecht, and then you go into that Arsenal match. Boy, what a fixture that's going to be.
Yeah. All right, so we're going way over the top: 3-0, 4-0, 5-1. Vass.
Oh, we're the best team in the league now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. One thing that Anderlecht taught us the other night was, and I think Spurs do this occasionally each season, they start to get comfortable. They think they can maybe just cruise through a game, and then we get a rude awakening. So I'm hoping Anderlecht the other night was our rude awakening, and it kind of spur us on a little bit. But in terms of predictions, I hate doing this, but I'll go for 3-0 Tottenham. Absolutely.
So basically,
you're
going to whore yourself out like the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
With the caveat of we might have a downer.
You better get me on another call so we can drown our sorrows.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Who listens to the podcast where somebody says, I think we lose?
Yeah, no one, right?
That's true.
That's when you say, I think we're going to get a draw. Lovethebadge.co.uk. That is Vass's blog. I encourage everyone to go read it. There are a number of really great articles on there. He has written them and published by The Fighting Cock. I was fortunate enough to have an article published by them last year, and just kind of about the Americans' perspective and how I chose Spurs. But Vass has some wonderful information. I encourage everyone to go lovethebadge.co.uk. Vass, any parting words?
No, just thank you guys all so much for having me on tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know I've reminisced about days that some fans may not be able to relate to, but hopefully I've given them a flavour of what's gone on in the past. But of course we are Tottenham till we die, and we are where we are today, and hopefully things will get rosier going forward. So thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, you're very welcome. And talking about the past is part of Tottenham lore. We are about the history of the club, and we recognize that. Sam, anything last from you or something?
No, just thanks, Vass. I mean, I cherish our friendship that we've all developed. You're an absolute terrific human being. You're an amazing Spurs fan, and you know what? You're very humble.
You're too kind.
No, you've written 13 articles this year alone on Spurs, and the only way I ever found out about that blog website was because I kind of forced it out of you. It was like because I got the sense that you'd written a lot, but you never really told a lot of people, other than when it gets published. So I'm glad that Ken mentioned your blog, because they're all there.
Yeah, thanks. Most of my stuff tends to go on the Fighting Cock website now, but
good. Yeah,
what I generally tend to do now is whenever I have one published on the Fighting Cock, I'll stick it also on my own blog. So.
Well, the best way I can describe you is you are a proper supporter that writes like proper supporters wish they could. So I'm very grateful for the work that you do. So
thank you, guys. Thank you. And hopefully we'll see you guys back in the UK at some point this season.
Yeah, I hope so.
Working on that. Actually, I've already booked my flight, so you'll see me in March.
Okay, great. Well, you let me know in advance, Sammy, and we'll get together.
Absolutely.
Simon, you were going to say?
Well, yeah, I want to say thanks to Vass for being on, and it was a pleasure meeting you in May. And I also wanted to thank Sam, who kind of paid me a compliment today by saying that Boric was worse than me in goal, so thanks for that.